move to a question about another vulnerable population, which is migrant workers. We have heard from witness statements that one of the problems is that migrant workers do not have enough access to PPE even when they're infected. And I understand that you said just a few minutes ago that it's not the federal government's responsibility to distribute PPE provincially. But I'm wondering if it's not possible for you, for the federal government, to provide every new migrant worker who lands in Canada, and they will continue to land because picking season goes into November, possibly even December, to provide each one of these migrant workers who are so essential for our food security with PPE on arrival. Just as they get their landing permit, their visa, they get their PPE.
Thank you very much, Senator. The issue of migrant workers and infection is, I would say, far vaster than PPE. I mean, there are all the PPE in the world will not protect you if you were sleeping in a bunkhouse that is housing 12 to 15 people that may not have any ability for distancing, certainly no private washrooms or kitchens. You know, there is issues of close quarter working depending on the type of farm and produce and producer. I'm actively working on the Windsor-Essex outbreak, and I can tell you that the stories that I'm learning about the way that migrant workers are treated, both documented and undocumented, by the way, in this country, you know, if you aren't aware of it, would curl your hair. It is really a time. It is a national disgrace the way that workers are treated. And I will say it's not all farmers, by the way. There are many excellent farmers and farm corporations that are doing a good job, but there are others that you know, are not protecting the health of their workers and are not taking it seriously. The federal government, as you know, paid for the quarantine and came from other countries to have them properly isolated. There was a high degree of worry by Canadians that this would be a vector for importation of cases. In fact, you know, there were a few ill workers that were able to get treatment appropriately during that quarantine period. But in fact, the outbreaks have been coming from Canadians and undocumented workers that are actually working on the farms and intermingling with the temporary farm workers. So I will say that PPE is a small component of protecting workers' health on the farm.
I understand that completely, but there's always somewhere to start. So, but I do hear your concern for migrant workers, and I'm gratified to hear you pinpoint bunkhouses. Should I read into that response that the federal government will consider national housing standards for migrant workers?
Thank you very much, Senator. My colleague, Minister Qualtrough, and I are working right now on her ideas around how to reform the temporary farm worker program. In the interim, as the Minister of Health, as I said, I'm actively engaged with the other levels of government to protect the health of workers first and foremost.